John would say, grace and peace
You know,
in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ.
Up,
Good morning, everyone.
but it's
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Bob Nolan, and I'll be your moderator, I guess, today, for lack of a better word. I'd like to read some of the announcements we have written for the day. On Tuesday, we're going to have a session meeting right downstairs here at 4:15, an important one from what I understand. We will be having the Bible study for Wapello again, back on Tuesday again, also at 10 a.m. And the only other announcement I can think of is the fact that today we do not do a regular offertory per se, but there is a plate up there if anybody so desires to leave $1 or $2. We would appreciate it very much. So we'll start with our basic way. What is the main purpose of humankind?
To glorify God and enjoy Him forever.
Please join me in the call to worship. And please stand. If you can. You don't have to. Gathered to worship God,
We are all right where we belong.
called to this celebration of worship by God's Spirit,
We approach God with joy in our hearts.
nourished by the love of Jesus, God's Son.
We gladly feast at this banquet of grace. Amen.
Please join me in our first welcoming hymn. It's in that blue hymn, number 369. I'm going to live so God can use me.
Okay, this is a fast one and it's a loud one, so you're going to have to go right away. I'll give you a few bars of it so you know what you're doing.
Sherrie Dotson, who's going to give us a great presentation today.
Can everyone hear me? Yeah. All right, I won't use the mic then. I'll just use my voice. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for inviting me today and letting me share about my trip to Zambia. This summer, in July, I traveled to Zambia, which is located kind of, if you think, the southern tip, landlocked in the middle of Africa. This was my 4th trip, if I haven't said that already. I've been involved with Stir the Fire Ministry since 2017, and more recently I joined their board of directors. So I was team leader on this trip. Woo woo! Team leader! There were 9 of us. Cam, this is my son Trevor, sitting by my mom Bonnie. Cam is engaged to Trevor. She's also, yes, she is a fellow co-worker, co-teacher. She
cheerleader.
Cheerleader, that too. And she also joined me on the trip. So she should actually be up here as well. But she's just here for support. Come on up. No. All right. She actually is the one that created the presentation that I'm going to share with you guys today. So I'm just going to kind of go through this. So as we said in worship on Sunday morning in Africa, I looked up and there was a banner above the pulpit, and it was Hebrews 10:23 through 25. And it said, "Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promises is faithful. And let us consider how we may stir one another on toward love and good deeds." So I'm going to just stop right there. So I'm thinking, stir the fire. It's the name of our organization, our church, our school in Zambia. And just consider how we can stir one another. So when we left, I think that's in our hearts. The team was like, we were on fire and we were ready to come up and come home and stir everyone up and kind of get them on board and hopefully get some support for what we're doing there. Okay, so let's move on. First of all, Stir the Fire is an organization in a small town in Africa, in Zambia called Twelfth. It's near a larger city called Ndola, and our student population is around 480 students. 50% of them are considered orphans, meaning they have lost one parent. The other half are considered double orphans, meaning they have lost both parents. So a lot of them live with a guardian, and that could just be an aunt, an uncle, a family member, a grandma, an older sibling. They don't necessarily receive the same treatment that they would if they were a natural born child. So they basically, a lot of them just have a place to sleep and a place to say, this is my home. And their homes there are very basic, very simple. Our school serves grades reception, what we would consider kindergarten, through grade 11. On my first trip, we were a reception through grade 3 school. So every year, we'd finish grade 3, we'd build a classroom, hire a teacher, and we'd have grade 4. The next year, we would build a classroom, hire a teacher, we'd have grade 5. And so we're all the way to grade 11. January, we get to start grade 12, and next, hopefully in December, have our very first graduating class.
Yeah!
Ever! So exciting.
Why aren't the pictures showing?
I don't know.
Are you on Wi-Fi?
No. Do we have Wi-Fi, Bob?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to be my technical director? Okay. As she's fixing that, we have some great pictures, but our staff, we have 3 administrators. We have a teaching staff of 14. Our caregivers, which are basically our cooks, there are 5 of them. They cook meals for these children over a charcoal fire behind a little dining hall every day. Big old cauldrons full of enchila, which is a kind of like a cornmeal type dish. It looks like mashed potatoes, really thick, no flavor, but it's very filling for the kids because often the meal that they get at school is the only meal that they're going to eat that day. So on days when we don't have school, some kids don't have food. And we have 3 gardeners. The ministry was able to purchase a 7.5 acre farm, we call it a garden, and we have gardeners, and they're starting to really develop the land. We've got some professional advice from another farmer, and so they're raising produce to help with our feeding program, and then hopefully be able to sell to make some extra money to supplement the ministry. So our garden is looking gorgeous. We have 1 maintenance employee, and then we also have a nurse, I would say. We've built a medical clinic, a little room where when the kids are sick, they can go there and get malaria meds or get just some ibuprofen or whatever it is they might need. Okay. So on this trip, our big purpose was to start a music program at our school. So there were 9 people on our trip. There were 2 teachers, Cam and I are teachers. Our director, Diane Knoll, she's a veterinarian, but I would trust her more than probably most doctors I know. So she was kind of like our medical guru, plus she was busy doing a lot of administrative things. We took Jeremy Hedman, who is West Burlington's marching band director, and he was in charge of starting this music program. We took bags, everyone had an extra bag, and we packed it full of musical instruments. We had trumpets, we had trombones, we had 100 recorders, we had drumsticks, we had shakers. So he spent the whole week just starting a music program from the ground up. He wrote a curriculum before we went. We took a pastor. I attend Harmony Bible Church.
Woo! Thank you, Jesus.
And they sent along one of their pastors, just so he could kind of get the lay of the land, see what it is we do there. He did a lot of counseling training with other pastors from the area and with our teachers. We took a couple young ladies. They were kind of our media specialists. They took pictures every year when we go, every trip, we create a little yearbook where we take a picture of every student. We put it together in the book. So they just kind of have that little, a lot of them have never seen like a picture of themselves. So to actually take their picture and print it out and put it in a book is something pretty special. We did lots of children's activities. My previous trip, we built a library, so we did some work in the library. We toured the garden. We had Sunday morning worship, and then Cam and Diane and I were lucky enough to meet with the Minister of Education, so for Zambia, and talk about our school and its future. We also had a couple 14-year-old boys who went along. Diane was there, they were Diane's grandsons, and music was their thing, so they really just jumped in and helped Jeremy start his music program. And so here are a couple pictures. Jeremy is in the yellow, he's our music director, and this is Emmanuel and Brian. They're on the worship team at church, but they are also going to be our music teachers. So he was just kind of teaching them, like here, like how do you put a reed on a clarinet? You know, some of these are instruments that they had never seen before. And they're just such enthusiastic learners. Whoops. I'm laughing. So this is Pastor John.
Where do all the instruments come from? Did you,
People just donated them. We just
like
put it
that
out.
you took with you?
Yeah, we took them with us.
So we had 17 check bags total.
Yeah.
Like all of us, we checked 17 bags on the airplane, and so about 4 of those bags were full of musical instruments.
We have a clarinet.
Oh, darn it! Next time.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is Pastor John. He is, Bishop John. He is our school administrator. He is behind the entire ministry. This was his passion. This was his vision. And so he met Diane, and she came back, and she's the financial person. We're the money raisers over here, and he's the implementer over there. But he wanted to come in and try all the instruments too, he and his wife, and they're picking them up. And one of them, when they went to blow the trombone, they put their whole mouth around the mouthpiece. They didn't know. I mean, they just don't know. And then this is Levi. He's one of the 14-year-olds that went with us, and he was just, he's a brass guy. So he was in charge of kind of the brass section of our band, and just such a sweet go-getter. And so here are our children, and they're kind of getting together. Jeremy's doing a little presentation. We took a violin as well. So just a nice variety of instruments. Just some more of our future band students. Okay, the flute. And so they all got to try out instruments and kind of pick out the one that they wanted to play. And I believe we started with 11, 10, just picked 10 students who they thought would be good to begin the band, our initial band students. And then hopefully as they learn, then they would use their knowledge to teach others. And then our band could grow. So here's our brass section. And then here's a little, hopefully video.
You're muted
I'm muted on the TV.
on your laptop.
It's not my laptop, I borrowed it. Yeah, I got it again. We were only there for a few days. Yeah, me too. Some hot cross buns. All right, so like I said, Harmony Bible Church sent a pastor with us, Kyle Knoll, and he did some pastor training. So some pastors from local communities just came, and Pastor Kyle talked to them more along the lines of pastoral counseling. That's where his passion is. And I didn't get to sit in on any of the training, but I was told it was every time he would have to pause and like erase his whiteboard or rearrange his notes, the pastors would just stand up and start singing and worshiping and praising. And then when Kyle was ready, they would sit down and be ready to learn. And when there was another break, they would just stand up and just, make a joyful noise. And then we were able to enjoy a nice lunch with them as well. But yeah, they would just stand up and worship. And then our young girls on the trip, they brought them out class by class, took their pictures individually, took class pictures, and it was just fun. It was nice to have each one, they had a little name tag on, so they could come up and you could actually look them in the face and say their name, and it just made them feel so special. Which reminds me of a little story. When we got there, they had this big celebration that welcomed us. They had a band, it was totally over the top, but a girl got up and gave a speech, and she said, before our school, we were not counted. She's like, now we are counted, and we want to thank you for that. So it's, school's not mandatory in Zambia. So if you're an orphan, if you don't have a lot of money, if your family needs you to go beg on the street, you just don't go to school. You're just kind of a nobody. And we would see driving through just these little kids, on the street. You'd come to a stop and they might walk up and try to sell you a little something, or so it's just, they're given now an identity, a name. People know who they are. They're counted. And so it's just so sweet to see the little faces. And then we would go back to our lodge at night, and we would try to, they have a 1-hour photo in Zambia. So we went there, we printed all of the photos, and then we would go back and then we would sort them out, and we tried to put, before we went, they filled out a little all about me paper. So then we had to match their paper to their picture and then put them in the right class, and it was quite an operation, but we had a great little system down and it went super quick. Then we had spent a lot of time with the children. In the past, I felt like we would go and we would do medical checks, and we would do this with the teachers, and we would do that, and we just wouldn't play with the kids. So this time we wanted just to spend time with the kids. So this is lunch, and this is enshima, and they have a little cabbage something and a little piece of sausage. The meals have improved drastically since my first visit. My first visit, they were getting maybe enshima with a little bit of sugar sprinkled on top. No vegetables, no meat. They were served on plates out of a window and they go eat on the ground. And so now we have this beautiful dining hall where they come in, we put it on the table, and here's our little window, and then we go sit down. And we chose to eat with the kids as often as we could on this trip. In the past, they would hire a cook to come in and make us a nice meal, and we would go somewhere else and eat away from them, and it's just made me feel icky to do that. So it was nice just to be able to sit down and kind of experience what they experienced.
Sherrie, excuse me, I've got a question that
Sure.
just keeps, when you went there was basically nothing. And now you have these building facilities, you have all this, have you raised that much money here in the United States?
Yes.
Well, God is certainly with you.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
that, it's
Should we
just,
skip ahead to the history portion?
Yeah, we
It's like
can.
slide 47.
Okay,
Just
so
click
I can go
past.
through this. Anyway, games, reading with kids, we did artwork with them, just some more. I don't know if you guys know this game. Diane said she did it when she was in school, but it was you'd smack two boards and they would jump. What's it
I think
called?
there's a video,
Tinikling?
something like that.
Do you know what? Was one of those a video?
No,
Anyway,
Oh,
that's
I
okay.
see.
Just lots of fun stuff. Here's some videos. There it is. Parachutes, we took over, played games with the older kids, we worked in the library. So in 2023, we put in a library at the school. And we're like one of the only schools in the area that actually has a library on site, which is pretty exciting. We took the teachers shopping. This is our garden. We have goats, the cabbages were looking wonderful. This huge field, it was just beautiful.
okay, now I want to get this straight.
Okay,
This was not there, how many years ago?
okay, I went the first time in 2017. We had
8
a garden.
years.
Yes, we had a garden, but it was not developed. We have an actual history portion that kind of shows how it has,
This is mind-blowing.
yes, okay. So,
2000, John and Judith start a church. They find 6 kids eating trash, and they adopt them. They feel called to adopt them in their own home. We don't know them, they don't know us, they don't know Diane, they don't know anybody. It's 2000, I'm 3 years old.
True Zambian.
I just,
yes, yep.
Okay, then Diane visits in 2010. And
How did
Diane-
she happen to go there?
She was there on another mission, something totally different, and her path crossed with John, and she heard John's story.
So Judith is rocking the 2010 hairstyles. She's being trendy. John's got the suit. Diane's also rocking a 2010 hairstyle. And they decide, Diane comes home from there and she's praying and she decides, this is something I'm so called to do. As one might say, the fire was stirred in her heart, and so she's like, I want to be a part of it.
Don't click yet. I was going through this morning, and I was looking at the kids eating there on the ground. Their little plates of food, their clothes, they don't look healthy. I was just like, oh my gosh, she's got fresh eyes. I've been there and I've been part of it for so long, I forget. So this is a great thing that she's gonna walk you through it, because she's more with you. I mean, she's been there, but
It's so new to me.
it's so new to her.
It is
That
new.
I tend to skip ahead and talk about the now.
So Diane goes, and before this, between 2000 and 2010, John and Judith had adopted those 6 kids and then had started a feeding program out of their church. So what they were able to supply was just 1 meal a day to some kids. So they were still homeless, they had no education, but they knew, right, in their hearts, they said, God says that we care for widows and we care for orphans, and so we will do this if we can. We'll give them a meal. So that's kind of where they were at. But then Diane meets them, and she comes home, and so in 2010, she creates a U.S. branch of the organization. We become a 501c3. Everything is 100% volunteer. 99% of donations go to the meeting the needs of the ministry, and then 1% less than. That's stamps.
Yeah,
That's
it's postage.
posters, that's copy paper, right? So this is what Diane starts in 2010. So we're not really connected to a church, technically.
Right.
We have a church label in New London so that we can get our 501c3 for
We
donors.
operate under their 501.
Yes, but that church has nothing to do with our board of directors other than Brian.
Brian and his wife are on our board. His church is a great supporter of us,
Yes.
but we are not linked to
Yeah.
any one church.
So it's all Southeast Iowa people and volunteers, and they're very gracious to let us have that credit under there. So now it's 2013, and they come back and they hire the first teacher ever. So we have this random group of kids who are kind of wearing uniforms that have the stir the fire thing, and was their first teacher, Maureen. And so Diane meets the first teacher that over the last 3 years she's fundraised, and every kid starts the same grade. You've probably got a 5-year-old, you probably have a 7-year-old, you might have a 10-year-old, but they're all gonna be in kindergarten, because none of them have an education yet. So John's telling Diane in 2010, Diane, I want to start a school that turns into a night school community college and everyone gets a meal and then we also give people jobs. And Diane's like, whoa. Let's just get one teacher to start. So they have one teacher and one grade. Any questions? I am a 6th grade teacher, so if you let me know, I will give you an answer. So in between 2013 and 2017, we have 4 years. And there's some slow-moving projects in that time, but nothing with a lot of photos. But our next big photo is in 2017. They start building something. Do you remember what this was?
So when I was there was one building built, and it was basically kindergarten through 3rd grade, and then a storage room that they fed the kids out of. Right after I left, they poured the foundation for what is now the dining hall, where we saw them feeding the kids, and I'm pretty sure that's what that is.
So everything there is cinder block built, and they do a lot of this stuff by hand. So this is, there's no big machinery, none of that. They do everything by hand. I think I have a photo of that, 2008. See, here's another one. So 2017, 2018, this is a different thing being built. The campus itself is like a large boxed in, stoned in, walled campus, and there's a house for a man, what's his name? Joseph. Joseph lives on property, and so he kind of, we would say like is a security guard kind of for after school hours and on the weekends. The church building is right there on property, and then there's a building here and a building here. And so as they grow, they take their existing buildings and they just add walls. So the next big vision, John wants to take what is the big church hall, he wants to add walls inside, divide it into more classrooms, and build a new church hall off to the side. So that's why when we show you these buildings, when I think of like our schools in America, we don't just add a new building on the property, we renovate the entire school, right? But in Zambia, it's cost effective and it fits their needs to just add another building. So each time we see this is the dining hall, this is a new set of classrooms, or maybe a new church, and they're taking the old church hall and dividing it. So that's 2018. 2019, they take one of the rooms and they develop a computer lab. So this is, I mean, let's go back, right? 2019, children eating on the ground, and John says, I want a college at night and an elementary school during the day, Diane. 9 years later, we've got children sitting in computer lab classes, and they're not Apple MacBooks, okay? They're not your fancy touchscreen iPads, but they're getting a computer education that so many kids around them either are getting in public school or have no experience with whatsoever. So it's still the next step up to hopefully becoming independent and giving back to their own community, right? Like that's the goal, is to create a sustainable system for them.
Do they have Wi-Fi available?
Yes. One of our obstacles is the power grid is not that reliable
Sure.
there. So, you know, they could go days without electricity, or sometimes they have to do the load share, like maybe you get electricity in the morning or you get it in the afternoon. So it's very unpredictable, but yes, you can get one of the little, what do you call them, eggs? You had one when you were.
Hotspot?
Yeah, little hotspot things that aren't really that expensive,
No.
that work pretty good. A lot of the things that those kids are doing now aren't web-based. It's just more like, how do I turn it on and how do I open a Word document or whatever there.
Sure.
How do you type, how do you
Yes.
save, download, so just basic tasks. Then we have a big jump, so 2019 to 2023.
COVID kept us
Somebody
away.
think, who can raise a hand and tell us what happened between 2019 and 2023? COVID, yeah. So when we did make it back in COVID, by this time, this is a recent picture of the garden, not from 2023, but by this time, the garden had been established in 2023. I believe it was purchased in 2017,
It was there in 2017,
but it wasn't,
it really hasn't shown a lot of promise and fruit until our last visit. We have a couple of agricultural experts that have made some trips in between, and they met up, they went to the feed store or the hardware store for one thing, and by chance they met this man who had a farm that was successful, and so he came on as like a consultant. So he would come out and he would teach our gardeners like, okay, we need to get like a truckload of chicken manure and bring it in and get this fertilized, and so now it's really starting to show promise.
so this is a 2025 picture, but I put it here because in 2023, we started receiving that consultation, and so things really started looking up. And then in 2023, we really developed the clinic part of the school as well. So that's kind of foundationally, we're trying to provide and give those services. Shastri is John's son, and he is an anesthesiologist, nurse, assistant kind of thing. But that's his title in Zambia. He is authorized to give anesthesia in Zambia. So here, we would call that like a doctor, but over there, they call that an anesthesiology nurse or something. Whatever. Anyways, he comes down every few weeks, I think you might have already said. So that's where we really developed the clinic, was in 2023. Also, that trip was when Sherrie put together the library. So we think libraries as shelves and shelves of books and computers and a librarian, and they do have librarians. I'm excited to show you that picture. But in their school, it is a room, and it does have books. And so it is access to something they haven't had before. So change your lens of when you look at this from shelves of books to, wow, this is putting information in their hands. So this is our humble but beautiful library. And something else awesome in 2023, we became the highest performing school among all the area schools. So there's 156 schools in the Ndola area. That would be like saying, for us, Ndola would be kind of like Iowa City in size, and then Tuapia is a little off to the side. And so in that area, there's 156 schools, and we became the highest performing with 100% of our students passing their grade level exams. Yes, thank you. Kind of wild. And so we're like, why? I mean, I'm a research-based person, and so I'm thinking, how does this happen? You have kids who are going home to places where they're not counted, they aren't treated equally as the children that are naturally born in that family. They don't have, they're vulnerable, and they come to this school and they still perform higher than kids who are given what they need. And so, lots of things to think about, but we're just gonna say Jesus right now is the answer. Then in 2024, down here's a little picture, we added a whole nother wing. So see those very safe building techniques. No ladders, standing on
OSHA.
windowsills. Yeah, I don't think there's OSHA over there. And then this room was also added on. This was a huge to-do. It is a chemistry and physics science lab.
So once we had high school aged kids, we had to decide, are we going to continue to educate them, or are we going to tuition them out to a government school? And we ultimately left it up to John because he's the one that's there, and he's the one that's going to have to coordinate and be the administrator of all this. And his heart was to keep his kids here where they were getting also not only a quality education, but a religious education as well. We want to keep it faith-based, and we were going into the government school system probably wouldn't have been the best, healthiest environment for our kids. So in order to go on with high school, one of the government requirements was that we had science labs. So we actually, the property behind our school came up for sale. So it was purchased, we knocked a big hole in the wall and renovated a house that has, what grades are in that? Upper, that's where the library and the
10, 11,
clinic is.
12,
And then we added onto that house, little teacher workroom, library, or no, that's where our lab is. And then another classroom, 2 more classrooms there. So we're all ready for grade 12.
So 2010, John and Judith are feeding kids out of their church. That's it, feeding kids out of the church. Now here we are. Whoop. 14 years later, they have a science lab. Isn't that incredible?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
That looks like labs, tables,
Yeah,
are
station.
those sinks on the end?
Yeah, so these are
You
the,
mentioned water, is there an organized water system?
We do. We actually put in, we have like a tank. I don't even know if those are hooked up. Are those hooked up?
No, I'm sorry, but
They do have public plumbing. Is
do
that
they
what
have
you're meaning?
wells?
They do have wells. And so, yes,
Okay.
the water probably, I wouldn't drink it, but they have it.
Well, but I mean, that's, without water, you can't do anything.
Right.
yeah. So Randy Higdon,
Yes.
he's on the board of directors as well, and so every trip that Randy has made, there is usually an advancement on our campus with building, plumbing. Are you guys familiar with Randy Higdon? He's a Southeast Iowa construction. Danville construction guy. Well, he's been a huge part of all of those things. He loves to tell a story about the first time he got a power tool out, and he got out of the drill, and all the kids were like, so, yes, so good question. Not only are we building it, but yes, these things are functional given the circumstances like the power grid and those kinds of things.
Okay, what is the climate there? Is it an arid?
It's dry. They have 2 seasons, rainy season, dry season.
But not cold?
Not cold. So we were there in July, which would be their winter. So anywhere from 60 to 80 degrees.
Okay.
Beautiful.
It was just gorgeous.
Because I was looking at that garden, and
Yeah,
so,
they irrigate,
all right.
yeah. So I think.
Yeah, we can go back to
Yeah.
that video too. So then this last trip, 2025, and that was a recent picture of the lab, but in 2025 is when we established the music program. So I just love this picture of Levi because he's 14 years old. The rest of these boys are between the ages of 17 to 21 because of how old they can be when they start kindergarten. You don't age out of school, it's whenever you start, you're in kindergarten. And so he's technically younger than the rest of them, and he's commanding, just leading this whole group. It was just incredible watching him. He hasn't even started high school.
Yeah.
He's going into his freshman year, right? It's still July, and he's leading this group of boys, teaching them on the first time they've ever held their instruments. Okay, everybody hold down this. Okay, trombone, you go here. Everybody play. And so it's just incredible. Yeah.
What would be, I'm just trying to get a perspective compared to what I know about, I mean, like, you said that this place is close to a city like Iowa City, that size, is that right?
Size-wise.
I think so.
yes.
What would you get, I mean, this is, what would you guess the physical size of Zambia is? Roughly, I mean, as big as
Iowa, is it southeastern United States?
I'm gonna put my research assistant on that.
That's good, delegating.
I kind
But I
of feel
mean-
like Iowa.
Okay.
No, because we said the Copperbelt province, so it's divided into provinces, because it used to be, Trev, correct me, British colony.
Yeah, it was.
It used to be
formerly
Rhodesia.
North
So.
Oh, it was Rhodesia.
What would
Oh.
be the Zambian language? Would it French or?
They speak Bimba,
Well,
But then-
there are many dialects.
there's many dialects,
Okay.
and they teach English in school,
So,
but it does feel more like a UK English, am I correct to say that?
Yes.
So they don't, I mean, they don't speak a British accent, but they do teach English in school.
What is the government? Because do you have any government interference in this whole thing? Have you got any issues?
So
Careful,
they're,
that's a big question.
so they have a president. So my husband has been researching more the government side of things, like he wants to know how things work. So they elect a president. I'm not sure how long his term is. They are supposedly a Christian country. They have a president. Corruption was a problem because we just had this conversation last night, like there are no checks or balances with the government. Like we have 3 branches of our government and like they hold each other accountable. It's kind of like he's the president.
Totalitarian.
So in a way, kind of. But I have heard from John that he likes the new president, that education is a priority, and he ran on the premise that he wants to crack down on corruption. So,
Because I'm looking at this successful program that you've gotten over there, and I'm thinking, okay, this is this little thing, and are they looking at you and wanting to say, hey, we
And
want to take
They
words?
are, and that's why we're so lucky to receive the audience of the Minister of
Yes.
Education, because they want to know, why is your school so successful? They even, in the history of the school, at some point, about 7 years ago, they even took half of our kids and sent them to government school and gave half of us government school kids, and that lasted only for about a year, and then they switched back, because it wasn't sustainable for our vulnerable kids to be going to government school, because you have to provide your own meal, and sometimes it's a farther distance, and so we got it switched back, but there was a point where they were like, okay, since your school's doing so well, we're gonna give you some money, and we're gonna swap students.
yeah, I don't think we got money on
Yeah.
that deal.
And so we got it switched back, but yes, they are noticing us, yes.
that was what I guess I was trying to establish. If you went for, I mean, if you went 20 miles in any direction, what would be the situation? More places like
Yes.
this? Okay.
Yeah.
And so is there any organized backing from this government, so to speak, to,
At the moment, no.
okay,
So they have come in recently, not the minister that we met with, but a couple officials came and like toured our school, and they offered to pay our teachers' salaries. And we're exploring that option. We don't want them to come in and step on our toes. We don't want them to come in and put more of, John wants to choose who comes to our school because he wants to serve the most
For
needy.
Senate, yes, for
And
2 years.
So we don't want them to come and dump more kids on us. We don't want them to come in and take our teachers and replace them with their teachers, because we've just invested so much in
So
there.
another-
Yes, sir. Question?
No, Zambia is just a little bit larger than Texas.
Oh.
Texas,
okay,
okay.
all right, that just gives you a mental picture of it.
Good looking, knows how to look things up.
Maryland and Vermont combined.
Okay.
Texas, Maryland, and Vermont combined.
Okay.
Okay.
Roughly equal the area of
And
Zambia.
I'm gonna shut up, but,
No.
no, but I'm just talking about the basics, but water, electricity, I mean.
Sewage,
Huh?
sewage.
Well, yes, but, I mean, that could be handled, I think, but you can't do anything without water. You can't raise things, you can't
Right.
clean yourself or whatever. And electricity, when you said something about when they turn this chainsaw on or something, what's that? Well, there was an old joke, and this is not meant to be
Just say it, we're all for
picking on
it.
anybody, but there was an old Polish joke. And the guy bought a chainsaw. And they said, if you buy this chainsaw, we'll guarantee you can get X amount of cords of wood. And the guy, he come out and checked on me, he says, well, how do you get along? He says, I can't get that many cords. And so the guy says, well, maybe you ought to check this saw out. So he starts, it goes, roar. They said, what's that noise?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and that's the thing too, is we're in this place called Twapia, and we're not supposed to be taking pictures outside of our school walls, because that makes the community uncomfortable. We're not getting in trouble with the law, but
Makes you
the
uncomfortable?
local people are uncomfortable if they see white people walking around taking pictures of them or their things, and so that makes them uncomfortable, and we know that we can only take our pictures within our school walls. But if you were to go to their city center, you're looking at fast food restaurants, they have shopping malls, they have vehicles, granted they're beautiful vintage Toyota Land Cruisers, they're so cool, but the vehicles are old, they don't have new stuff, but they have,
Amenities?
yeah, they have amenities, but then at the same time, if you drive 40 minutes in the opposite direction, you're in the bush.
Well, yeah, that's what it's for.
So there's both.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, our students, have they ever been to the shopping center? Our kids don't come to
But
school in cars.
At some,
They walk,
at some,
sometimes an hour.
Yeah,
at some point, you mentioned in a given area, there were 159 schools, I think, something like that, 150 something.
mhm.
So that's the whole country, or
No.
just this one area?
Just our,
Just our area.
they're just these little.
It's Iowa City area.
Yeah, these
Yeah.
pockets, yeah. And so we are not the only community school either. You can be a government school or you can be a community school, and the community school title means that all of your teachers are volunteer. So they don't have a government contract for teaching like Sherrie and I would sign here in Iowa. They have a contract with John and with the church. And so that's how they're getting their salary. So when the government school says, oh, we could pay your contracts, we could pay your teachers, we don't love that, because then we would have to follow what the government says. So, this is kind of a different portion, but we'd love to tell you a little bit more about our trip.
Go back to the garden irrigation, do you have that?
Oh, yeah. And so this was a beautiful cabbage. When we left, it was almost ready for harvest, and John said, do not harvest. Wait, I want to show Diane the beautiful cabbage field. So they stretched it an extra like 3 days so that we could see
So
it.
here you can see the irrigation. We do have
So that
a pond.
green is cabbage?
Yes.
Yeah. We have a spring-fed pond on the farm, which is amazing for us. So they are actually able to irrigate. So they've dug their little trenches and they run their hoses. We also have a tank, a water tank, but I think it's worked out easier for them to just run from what we think is good isn't always what's best for them. So what works for them is what they do. But we also, next to our spring-fed pond, dug another
Can I just,
pond.
look at John, look how proud he is. Every field we went to, he went down into the field, picked off some sort of vegetable and was like, try it, take a bite, and we're all like, ugh, yum. You know? He was so proud to show us, this was like an eggplant type thing, I don't remember what it was called, but it was bitter. They like it, I did not. And then John also has this secret, okay, you guys can't tell anyone. You can't tell any Zambians if you have a friend on Facebook. There's a secret pond next to the spring-fed pond. And you can see it, but we actually have fish population in there. And if the native, the local people who lived near our farm were to find out about this, they would attack the gardener who owned the property to get the fish.
Oh.
So it's food scarcity. So this is about 30 minutes from the school is where the farm,
This is out the bush.
yeah, this is where the property is. And so because of the food scarcity and the socioeconomic status in that area, this has to remain a secret within our organization because it would put Joseph and Angela, that's the farmer and his wife, they have 3 kids, they live on property, that would really put them at risk for safety. So right now, if the locals come and take from the spring-fed pond, it's just here behind these gentlemen, they just see another pond. So then you don't see fish jumping, but as you're about to see, we've been growing, John has been growing a brim fish, which is similar to it had a name, but it's called a brim fish. And so we're gonna see some brim. So this is Joseph, who I'm speaking of, and then this is Whitson. He's the maintenance worker at the school.
Are you seining the pond?
What was that?
It looks like a seine. Are they?
Yeah.
Yes, they're gonna show us their harvest. He just has to take all of his keys out of his pockets first. And his shoes off. See, Joseph doesn't ruin his jacket.
And there's a
It's
keys.
like it's like a bluegill or a
Yeah,
sunfish.
they're very similar to a bluegill. And sunfish, that's what he's
More like fertilizer.
Yeah.
So we don't need to.
Oh, boy, that ain't very big.
No, it's not. And so this water also is gonna be fertilizer too, so they're gonna end up piping that out to the fields.
So that the water can go right in
Okay.
the target, and then it will be more like fertilizer. So again, this is very, very.
So you see the net hole, and you're like, whoa, look at all the fish that are, gotta be in there. Wow. And then they pull it up and there was no fish in the net. So John tells them, get lower, get lower. He said, there are 450 fish in there, get lower.
You can
But
see
we can put some weights along with it. So they know it's down there.
And they've never done this before.
Still no fish?
We got about 3 that time. And John is, he likes things to be important and proper and look good. And so John's kind of yelling at them like, get the fish, get the fish. Like, my friends are here, stop embarrassing me. Like, get the fish. Right,
Oh, is it?
so we can chat about that.
It is even talking.
It's a nice fish.
And everyone respects him so much. I mean, he says, get in the pond, they get in the pond.
And there's John with his fish. So the boys, Levi and Camden, they're 14, right? So they're not always mature. They take this picture and they put a hashtag over it. Hashtag feed my 500. Get it? Jesus with the 2 fish and the loaves. They thought they were pretty funny, but these were the bream fish. So why did we choose bream fish? I had a question about could we do catfish instead?
Probably because they're more native, and maybe the way that they grow. I'm assuming that he did a little research and chose the fish that were best for our environment.
Catfish are also predatory, so they'd probably not be great.
For the ecosystem there?
Well, just to have in there because I feel like you'd have a top dog in there that would
Yeah.
kind of rule it.
So we also purchased a freezer, right?
We have one.
Or
I was
we-
thinking
yeah.
this morning, the power goes out.
I just thought that.
We do have a freezer, yes.
But that was the plan, was to clean the fish once they were ready to be harvested and then freeze them. So all of this, the purpose of this is to create a self-sustaining feeding program. So the funding no longer goes towards purchasing materials for making food. It only goes towards teacher salary and maintenance. And we have been connected with an Iowa State program who has a plant or a farm in Zambia. And they grow a self-sustaining feeding program somewhere in Zambia, but it's assisted by Iowa State University. And so we've recently been connected with them, and that's kind of the main goal. So we are producing fruit trees. These are lemons, I think. This is the maize that we had just recently harvested, and then a beautiful picture of cabbage that they harvested once we left. How many heads? 4,000?
Thousands.
In the thousands, they harvested thousands of heads of cabbage after we left. So
I'm thinking it's just so marvelous, the nutritional impact that it has to make on the children's lives, where they were getting basically a gruel,
yeah,
and now they're getting a well-balanced meal. That is so,
And different things when you have citrus.
exactly. And so those were all the thoughts. So there's also yams, and there's plenty of things that we don't have in here. We also had an opportunity to do some praise and worship. There's our 14-year-olds again. Music teacher, 14-year-old, there's Diane, and Diane's telling the guys, do you know blah, blah, blah. She's saying English songs. Do you know how to play this? Do you know how to play this? And then Jeremy, our music teacher, he would play the first few notes on the trumpet. Like, it goes like this. Burr, 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 burr. And then they would immediately start playing it on the piano. Like, just the skill. It's like, you don't need to be born in America to be able to make something beautiful, music-wise. It was incredible. So that was probably my favorite part, but listen to it forever. Just wonderful. This was special. They just pulled the worship team in for us. One of our last nights.
Music teachers,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
It was just
it
for
has
us.
been proven that children who study music learn other things more easily, because the music has so much math and this type of thing, that for you to come up with this idea of taking a musical instrument, as I say, it's God at work.
It's pretty incredible. This was our final meeting with the Minister of Education. So he was actually on holiday. They were all on a break. And he went out of the way, drove about 40 minutes to come meet with us because of the way our school stands out. So this meeting was really interesting because it wasn't, oh, how's your school? It was us saying, what's next? How do we take these kids who are about to graduate and put them in a position where they can support themselves? And John said, and this might feel rude, but he said, when they leave my school, I don't want them to go get married and have babies and come back with their families and ask me for a meal every day.
Oh.
He said, I want them to have a sustainable life. I need them to support themselves. And so we were discussing with the Minister of Education, how are we sure when our kids leave our school that they're employable? So it's no longer, can we feed them? Check. Can we educate them? Check. We're to the point where, are they employable in their society? Because Zambian industry is different from American industry. But that to me was the most interesting part of our trip.
this meeting is kind of what gave us the focus for our future plans.
I got to shake his hand. So he would be like a state level head of education in Iowa. So this would be like meeting with the Iowa head of Department of Education.
That was gonna be how did they access, or how was Iowa State involvement, how'd that start?
We don't know, and they're not near us. They're like 2
Yeah.
hours away from us. So what we have right now is just communications with Diane, with Iowa State. So that's a very new thing that we're researching right now.
Well, Iowa State's got a lot of power
Yeah,
and a lot of influence.
Yeah.
so,
He was very excited to see our music program because that was very unheard of.
well, our school is like one of like the only schools that has a library, a science lab, and a music program. So just,
And a computer lab.
and a computer lab, yes.
So do you go every year? Or is
It's
it-
kind of been like every other year. I would like to go every year, but when, just the expense,
Yeah.
because roughly $3,000 for each one of us to go. And, you know, by the time 9 people go, that's $27,000. And, you know, if we spent that every year, just think of what we could do for them if they just had $27,000.
Yes.
So do you stay a week or 2 weeks?
It's
or-
7 nights-ish. We're gone for about 10 days. Travel is not direct and
It's a long trip.
it's a long trip.
So then
When you
these
come
kids
back,
that started,
Do you go and talk to your own students about this?
My first graders don't really understand it that much, other than I can say, I'm getting on an airplane and I'm gonna fly clear across the ocean to Africa. But Cam and Jeremy can go back with their older kids.
Yeah. And so we teach them, like, I will say, I'll be writing on the whiteboard, and I'll be like, oops, made a mistake, and I'll keep writing, and I can hear them start to be naughty when I'm not looking in class, right? And I go, in Zambia, the students sit and wait for their teacher to write on the chalkboard. So can you be Zambian today? So it's not as much education as it is gaslighting my kids to listen. Yes, handsome in the front.
I just read that the GDP of Zambia is $3,700 a year. So what you would pay to fly over there is what the average person makes in a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's average, and so, like, we're serving vulnerable populations, like, we're not going over and talking to,
City kids.
yeah.
It says
So,
60% of people.
Where do you fly into?
Yeah. Yes, I'm sorry.
You fly in, work too.
Actually, there's an airport in Andola, and it's new, and it's really
Angola
nice.
is a city?
It's a
Yeah, that's
city.
the city
Angola.
that's nearest
It's
to us.
probably, 20 minutes from the school?
Oh.
It's not far.
No, it's not far, it would be like flying into the Cedar Rapids Airport
Is there a
size-wise.
road system?
Yep, so they do have a pretty set road system, and I like to think of this country, when did the Rhodesian split happen, 20 years ago? How long?
Probably 60s.
Okay, so this country, what they're doing, they're about 40 years old, right? So they have infrastructure in place, it's just not always top notch.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of infrastructure. Their airport actually was new in the last 5 years.
Yes, I flew over it twice.
Yeah,
But road system, they have toll roads, they have highways. You might reach 50 miles an hour on some of those. The roads going to the school are, I wouldn't even call them potholes. What would you call some of those?
like,
It's like seriously, you have to go over to this side of the road and your car's almost like
Right.
sideways and
because they have all dirt
It's like
roads
going
and
through
in
the
the
Great
wet
Barn.
season.
worse.
Yeah, it's bad.
I
Like,
don't know that there's anywhere around here that I would.
the Hobby Lobby parking lot before
Yeah.
they fixed it. I'm serious, I hit an engine clip when I was 16 in that parking lot, and so it is
Farm
very
King-
similar to
Farm
that.
King would look like a
Yeah.
DMZ.
Yes, before they
Yeah.
fixed it, that's
It is.
every road is like that, so,
Tammy, did you have a question?
Well, just about the kids. So you started with this group of kids and they progressed.
Yeah,
So that's it for 12 years.
12 years. So
And then,
we thought, you know, we don't have to build anymore, we don't have to do this, now we can turn and focus. And we met with the Minister of Education, and we were talking about employment opportunities. And so, like, let's say, for instance, my son Daniel graduated from high school, didn't want to go to college. So he went, got a job in fast food, working his way up the ladder, and, you know, lives on his own. If you are in Zambia, you graduate from high school and you want to go work in fast food, you have to have a certificate in
Hospitality or catering.
catering. So you have to go to a trade school. You have to get more training in order to be employable. So our kids, there's going to be 22 of them.
These are some of our seniors. They will be, I mean, we can name them by name. That's Rose, where's Bright? That's Bright, there's Gift, there's Kelvin. Like, these are the kids that we've spent a week with trying to figure out what comes next for them. And this is how they get these, right? And we weren't planning on sharing this part of our presentation with you, but since you've asked, they need to go to a vocational training center, and this is just a local one. Sherrie got in contact with them over email, and they sent us their course fees. So this is Kwacha, and we've turned it to American dollars right now at the conversion rate. That's $65 for them to get a full certificate in basic IT. That would be computer programs, so Word, Microsoft, Excel. But as Sherrie's saying, catering, general hospitality or catering, it's a 1-year program, 12 months, 9,000 kwacha, that's $386. So for 1/3 of my mortgage payment, a child can have their full certificate in catering and then enter the workforce. There's not employability, and I shouldn't say it like that. They can become housekeepers if they are honest and they work hard. They can always sell something on the side of the road. Not sure what kind of income that generates. And then the last one was laundering.
They could purchase a car and become a driver.
Yes.
But then they would need the money to purchase a car.
And to pay for gas
Yeah.
until they.
So now it's like, okay, we've invested all of this time, energy, and money on these kiddos. They're gonna graduate. We can't just let them drop off.
Right.
So our new focus is we're trying to establish kind of a scholarship fund where we can at least get these kids have dreams. Rose wants to be a newscaster. So-and-so wants to be a pilot. I mean, big dreams. We can't just, is Rose gonna be a newscaster? Maybe, but she's somehow, what was her plan?
So Rose is 19 years old, and she and I added each other on Facebook, and we chat pretty much weekly. And she told me her plan was to sell clothes on the side of the road. So she would go find used clothes in the trash, or buy them very cheap. She would wash them, and then she would set them up on the side of the road. And this is kind of what it looks like. They set up wooden plank, a basic, like a closet bar, and then they set up clothes, and they stand there, and as you're walking by, they try to sell you clothes, vegetables, carvings, just very market-side stand-wise. She said that she was gonna do that until she could support her family and pay for her tuition. That tuition says 9,000 kwacha. And we were buying things like shirts for like 400 kwacha in a store, which means they would really only get about 20 kwacha. That's about 1/4 of an American dollar. So how is she supposed to get to 386 American dollars when she's getting 1/4 every time someone actually wants to purchase a used piece of clothing? It's not brand new. And she has shared with us, she has 5 younger siblings, and they live with a single mother. So her mother sells tomatoes on the side of the road, that's her mother's income. Like, this is a girl who is in charge of our library. Like, when I said I would tell you about our librarians, I wanted to talk to you about Rose. I have her picture, I thought I had it in here.
I think it's here somewhere. When I was in the library with her, no, maybe not. But anyway, so yes, can we pay for Rose to be a newscaster? No. But could we get her a certificate where she could get a better paying job so that she herself could put herself through college later on? Yeah,
Yes.
that's feasible. We actually ran some numbers, and it would only cost us,
So this is the numbers that we're looking at. We took 2 centers, Mushili Skills Vocational Center, and this one. Okay, I'll figure those out when I'm presenting to my big corporate sponsors. But we took their application fees, their general tuition fees, their enrollment fees, and then what it costs to actually take the trade exam. It's so expensive just to take a test in Zambia, we've learned. Like, that's,
the government gets.
just roll my eyes at that and move on. So for a 1-year program, at this place it would be $700 a kid. At this place it would be closer to $600. So we're seeing an average show up here. If we did all 22 of our kids who graduate next September, so about a year away.
November.
Okay, next November, in about a year, 22 kids will graduate. If they all say, yes, we want to get this certificate, it's gonna be $15,000 to $13,000 total. Okay, who here, raise your hand if you sent your kid to a university. If your own children, you paid for your child, where'd your child go?
I want to go to Co, and I want to go to University of Iowa.
So you know exactly how much it costs. Co is private, right?
Co is $30,000 a year.
Yeah, and that's not including room and board, you paid for all that. We would just send them more to a community college type program. This is like an SEC or a trade school. For a whole year, for every kid, this is not one kid, this is for 22 kids, $15,000 to $13,000. That is including application, tuition, enrollment, and the test fee. So the kids will have to provide materials, they'll have to clothe themselves, and as a school, we're creating a plan for transportation for $15,000. So let's say they have to go for 3, we put this 3 years in here for 3 reasons. 1, kids are gonna graduate from our school every year. So we can't just look at 22 and think, okay, we're done. Kids graduate every year. 2, a student might choose to do a 2nd year of schooling to advance their certificate. Those might be the only 2 reasons. So we multiplied it by 3 years to, that was it. We wanted it to be sustainable. We're not gonna go fundraise $15,000 every year. Can we create an education fund with a goal of creating an endowed fund, hopefully, within Iowa, so that we can get those financial benefits. But we are looking at $46,000 to $39,000 are between the 2 places that we've looked at. So our funding goal ultimately is $45,000 so that we can launch 45 careers so kids aren't selling tomatoes on the side of the road. John said one of the missions, without this let's, it says, our mission is to give children a real chance to break the cycle of poverty and dependence. That is written on the mission statement for the school. This is the next step to do that. This, to me, is the true breaking of the dependence cycle. You're employable, you support yourself, you give back to your community. I'm not gonna say we're gonna leave, we're not gonna wash our hands and walk away, but our work here becomes much easier, and it leads to a fruitful country development. Like we started, I could make you sick going all the way back, but where did we start with Diane? I think I lost it. I mean, look at that. This is where they started in 2010, and now we're to the point where how can we build up that community? Are we going way too long? We can, I can be quiet now.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I do have one.
Yeah.
if anybody here wants to donate, where to?
We have a website, we have a Facebook page, I have flyers that I brought with me. You can talk to me, Cam, but I'll just share. This is a little flyer that we had made up that gives, so not only do we have our school in Tilapia, we also have a school in another rural community that the government kind of runs, but they're part of our feeding program as well. So do you each need your own? Okay. Yeah, both, one for Roger. So we actually feed around 800 orphans every day. And actually, this sweet girl, I have some stories to share too. They're part of another slideshow, but I can even pass these around. But if you look at the front of your flyer, there's this girl down here with this huge, huge smile. And she's got kind of a sad story. Right after we left, we got a message from John, and Bezer had gone home. She lives with an aunt. Calamity, okay, sorry, Calamity. She lives with an aunt and an uncle, and the uncle is not kind to her. She gets abused in the home. I don't think that, those words weren't used, but anyway, she gets abused in the home, and so she was just crying and sobbing. She had so much fun when we were there. She laughed and she missed us so much, and then so yes, we got a message saying she was very upset, and then Diane recently got another message. They go to school January calendar year, so they have a break at the beginning of August, end of July, and she had gone home and the uncle was super abusive to her, and the aunt wouldn't step in and do anything, so they placed her with one of our teachers until they could try to remedy the situation. But that's kind of like a reality for a lot of our kids, that they're just given like a roof over their head, you know, just not treated well. But I just passed around a few papers, just some stories from some of our kids. Some of them walk a long, Rose walks how far to school?
Hour and a half.
An hour and a half she walks to get to school every day with 4 younger siblings. Yeah.
So we've shared for a very long time, but I know you probably want to wrap up your service. Do we want to stay and chat afterwards?
Yeah, I'll talk, as long as
Okay, perhaps one of your future things, dormitories?
John has talked about that, like just having kind of an orphanage, and I don't know why he has chosen not to.
Okay.
I don't know if it's cost, if it's space, staffing, yeah, I'm not really sure. So I think the compromise was for him, he like literally went around and found like, hey, here's this orphan, he found them a place to stay, so.
Very interesting.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Oh.
thank you. That was interesting.
Is that pretty much it?
Yes.
All right. It still is a worship service. I think rather than do a whole lot of prayer requests and everything, sort of save time, if you have any, there's still a sign-up sheet over there with prayer requests. Please put them down if you have new ones. Otherwise, as you know, there are a bunch of people on the back of it. And as Pastor Don would say, whether you know them or not in a situation, pray for them by name.
Well, I would like to have an update. We've had some of these people on for a long time, and we were going to take time to try to go through it and say, what's the situation now?
And of course, half of them are for Christine,
Yeah.
who had to leave.
Yeah, so you've got, if you have an update about somebody that's been on here for a long time, Where's the piece of paper, Bob? I
It's
could-
just right out there on the clipboard.
All right, would you put that down?
It's a prayer request thing. So I'll just give a prayer for the people in funeral. Gracious God, we praise you for your goodness in our lives, for our creation, preservation, and for all the blessings of this life. In these waning days of summer, we thank you for the gifts of warm days, children playing, time with family and friends, and all the other gifts of your love and grace. We especially thank you for the gift of this day, this presentation, a new day to worship and to serve you in the spirit and truth. You have called us to draw close to you, Lord, honoring us with this privilege of worship. Lord God, even as we acknowledge your gifts, our hearts ache when we see war in our world, fear in our country, hate and violence, hunger in the world. Amid all this fear, confusion, and anger, give us wisdom that we might become fearless beacons of your justice, peace, and truth. And please send your love and care to all those mentioned earlier and in our prayer list. Keep us faithful to our calling and fill our lives with your love to our overflowing. This we pray in the name of Jesus Christ, who taught us to pray while saying,
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever.
will you be so kind as to open up your hymnals one last time?
Let's just do one verse, Bob.
To number 426, which is, Lord, speak to me that I may speak. Thank you. Now, please go forth from this place to serve God and your neighbor in all that you do. And may the blessings and peace of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit keep you this day and always. Amen.